Welcome to another episode of You Can't Make This Shit Up. Your host, David Washington. I'm Joel Hoxley, and welcome to the Jay in Washington Network. We thank everybody from our our network of UCF students that are associates and our producers and everybody that puts this show on.
Thank you.
David, what are we going to be talking about today?
So, Florida legislators, supported by Governor DeSantis, propose addressing homelessness with designated camps, sparking, of course, more controversy. Advocates fear it could lead to more arrests and goes against federal housing strategies. While some see it as progress, others worry about unintended consequences and advocate for alternative approaches like Miami-Dade's successful model, focusing on housing first. Let's go, Joel. What say you?
Well, I don't know. When did the federal government ever actually know how to put people in houses?
They're here to help.
No, yeah, okay. There you go. Listen, I think that anything that can get people into dry shelter, anything that can actually help our homeless population have a decent, an increase in uh, confidence, a step up, instead of being put in jail. uh, I think is a good thing. Now, have I looked at the plan to the point where I can say it checks all the boxes? No, but David, you go to a campsite, it costs you money to use electricity, to use the water. You know, this is a cheaper alternative, um, and I don't even think that the homeless are providing the tents. I believe that that's assisted in the plan. So this is a place where you'll have a place to stay, you'll have a place to clean up, you'll have a place to actually have dignity and respect for yourself. And I think that's the most important thing. And
Sure.
do I know how camps can be. I've seen how they can have a double-edged sword, because when I was in Panama and we had the Cuban crisis, read my book, Bring America Together Again, if you want to see that story. But look, I think this might be a very good alternative, and I don't know the Housing First initiative down in Miami-Dade, but they have homelessness in Miami-Dade,
Sure do.
and it hasn't fixed it. It might be something they like, but it hasn't fixed the problem.
There's a couple of things I want to address. First of all, the support by some Democrats for this particular legislation. There are several bills that are passing through the legislature right now in regards to addressing the homeless situation here in Florida. And if I remember correctly, one of the supporters of this particular legislation, which we'll be talking a lot about soon, is State Senator Linda Stewart. And I see her support here because it's moving in a direction. It's having a conversation. It's looking at alternatives. Yes, there are camps. There are camps here in Orange County where people are living because they're homeless. It's affordable, it's convenient, and it's meeting their immediate shelter needs. So it's not like this is something that is new or being created to address this situation instead of looking at other alternatives to affordable housing. So this is an existing issue. Establishing these DeSantisvilles, that's what I call them now, will offer, as legislation is being discussed and revised, the social services. Did I say that? Social services. It will provide some level of security, and of course, it will provide the necessary utility for those who need to be housed.
Well, David, that you have right now a lot of families that are on the work to live program. And what the work to live program is you work and every dime of your money goes into living because they're living in hotels. They're living in hotels. They're trying to get their children into school, and this is the problem: is the social services that we have no mechanism to help, and they run out, or they just aren't enough. And when you have people that can't afford to rent a home, and they have to make sure they have enough money to pay that hotel bill. And if you've ever lived in a hotel with a family, that's not that's not the proper housing for an individual
Mhm.
family, because there's only so much the bathrooms and the family can be in one room. So I call that the work to live program. That this is something we need to stop. We need to be able to get people where they're actually living and being able to pay those bills that are necessary: electricity,
Mhm.
water, refuse, just to be, you know, we have to give dignity and respect to our people. And the only way to do that is to address, you know, the homelessness issue in getting people into a place to live, and then get them from there out. And if you have a place like this, maybe you have the services available right there, where we can match the right services to get these people, or into the right places. And it's all about, loving people. Like, this is doesn't sound like a loving situation when you read it, tent cities, but how about that person that's sleeping under the bridge?
Mhm.
This is a better alternative, and it's a stepping stone. So, David, I may not like the terms, or I want to watch this legislation. Hopefully we can do something to help our homeless population get into the right home, into the right place, getting to the right health care system. To maybe it's a mental health issue, maybe it's an addiction issue that once removed, they can improve their life. But we won't know that if we're not dealing with finding them a place to stay.
Right. 3 points. Um, One about State Senator Rosalind Osgood, a Democrat out of Tamarack, Florida. The second would be more local, Orange County, Orlando City Mayor Buddy Dyer. And then third, going back to Osgood in an indirect way. I don't know her story, but I would like to address that. But Senator Osgood used to be homeless, and she was homeless as a young mother with addiction on the streets with her kids. And she is in opposition to this bill, and she is hoping that there is an alternative to this particular situation. She said that, I just keep thinking about being out there with my babies, with the fear of being arrested and separated from her children for simply taking a nap somewhere. That is real. That is a conversation that hopefully her fellow legislators have had with her about her own experience, and would address something like her experience in the legislation, or at least keep it in mind. In regards to Buddy Dyer, he has been the mayor of Orlando for over 20 years, and he has been the leader of this city um, for a generation. And so the homelessness crisis has gotten worse under his leadership. Despite all the money and accolades and galas and fundraisers, homelessness in Orlando has become more of a problem each and every day. And so you have to wonder, with all the millions of dollars that have been allocated, all the speeches, all the ribbon cuttings, all the campaign promises, what is the return on the investment?
Well, I think the legislation, if we do this legislation right here, for the tent cities, or these tent communities, to have to have leadership. I mean, each one of these tent cities should have leadership. That the mayor should leave his home and be able to sleep in one of the tents, and the be the leader there, right? So he can lead that city tent community, so it dissolves, because the mayor's not going to want to live there forever. So he's going to want to find a way out. So he'll help these people out. And how about people that are supposed to be representing these low income areas, like Regina Hill? I'm sure she wants to live outside her rental apartment of being rented from a Republican, and she would want to move out and be a taxpayer, and get into the city and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to live in these tents, and I'm going to make sure that I help every single one of these people. So you hear me? This is great legislation, but make sure you put in this legislation that you're going to take leadership. And anywhere that you put one of these things, you're going to have leadership on site, because we're going to take and we're going to help people, because we're going to be there with them, because the leadership is by example. Get into the tent and get them out of the tents. And then you be the last one out, and make sure that you're the last one to eat in those lines that you create. Make sure that you take those leadership roles. Like when I was an NCO, I was the last one to eat, and my officers came after me. That's how we do it. We take care of others first. This is a great idea. Let's make sure this legislation takes care of people, and make sure leadership is in that legislation.
Speaking of leadership, back in the day in the 80s, then Mayor Jane Byrne actually moved from her residence, I believe, in the Gold Coast, in near the center of the city of Chicago, and moved into Cabrini Green, one of the most notorious housing projects in the nation. And she saw firsthand, it was reported firsthand, the deplorable conditions that the residents were living in. And that took a great deal of guts and leadership for this white middle-aged woman to pack up her and her husband and move into Cabrini Green. And that let people know what exactly was going on, and and stop ignoring the problem. Now, Cabrini, the Robert Taylor homes, other housing developments are gone. They're gone. And Chicago's plan was to build affordable housing, make available affordable rentals, and things like that. And the concentration of affordable housing was not in just one place. Granted, it's all over the south suburbs of Chicago, but that's a different story. So that piece right there, the Buddy Dyers, the Regina Hills, getting out of their comfortable estates. Okay, that's an exaggeration, but getting out of their comfortable, homes and communities, and actually being in these tent communities, maybe it would give a sense of urgency to resolving this growing problem here in Orlando.
I mean, they give all this money to their friends and their developing, buddies, to come up with these plans, and they spend, you know, like they spend $1 million on a house that they want to say is affordable to somebody, and once that once the government moves out and it becomes independent, then it's unaffordable housing again.
Hmm.
I mean, you can't make this shit up, David. Look, I think legislation like this should be backed up with true leadership. And look, we have a homelessness problem because our mayor is living in a nice house and has a nice salary and enjoys the perks that he gets. And you know what? It's he can't see. He can't see. He can say he has people writing great speeches for him, or he can have the right way to say it. But down to earth, you just need to say, "Look, I don't understand what you're going through," because you don't. You're passing laws that put people in jail just for being homeless, and you have people saying, "Well, no, that's not what the thing is. It's because they're drinking at night." We've had that conversation too. Look, let's go leadership. Take leadership roles. Get rid of your homelessness get rid of your homelessness by addressing the problem, by finding out how you can help these people. And if this is a solution or a step in the right direction, let's try it. If it fails, we move on and find a better plan.
you know, the Orlando city government passed an ordinance that allow local law enforcement to remove people from the streets if they're found to encumber the um, travel or whatever of someone on the sidewalk or whatever, just in time for the marathon Olympic marathon trials. They had the homeless people off the street. I was downtown the Friday before the marathon,
Oh, wait a minute,
and it
David. Listen,
was
all of downtown.
clean. All the homeless people were gone.
Well, you also had you had the Pro Bowl. You had
The
it was
Pro
the Pro
Bowl
Bowl weekend,
and
and
MegaCon.
yeah. So I mean, when the city wants to do something,
Oh, they can do
they
it.
can do it.
They can do
They're
it.
going to make sure they move they're going to move the people that they don't want. They'll take their blights and move them out of the city when they need to. But listen, we I'm with you, David. This is a problem. I see that. I'd love to have the mayor sit down and say, look, this is
Mhm.
why we have this problem, and really tell us, because I think he's just giving us lip service.
I agree. And one thing, going back to Miss Lady Senator Miss Osgood, one of
From
the
Tamarack.
things from Tamarack, one of the things that can resolve this issue, and I'll speak directly to my community, is that we need to get back to what made our community great. And that means we need to get back to building our families and having a husband and a wife create families, creating communities, and taking care of one another. And we're seeing more and more women with children being homeless. And we have to stop, at least in our community. I'll speak about my community. We have to stop what's happening. We have to stop the destruction of our communities from within and get back to what worked. Get back to, you know, just reject single family household. Reject being, Pookie or a Ray Ray. Reject being proud of being a single mom. So those things happen, yes. However, we need to get back, at least in my community, where you know, there are more. There's a growing um, rate of single family households without men in the home in our community, and I'm just saying part of the solution is getting back to that structure, that family structure that creates our communities. And so that's my final thought. Joel, what's yours?
I was just looking at this a little deeper on my phone. Yeah, David, I agree. The family is important. Uh, without without family, without family, you're really out there on your own,
Mhm.
and you have to create those. You have to create. You lose that family value. Look, we got to start taking care of our friends, our neighbors, and the best way I know how is to find solutions and to be leaders and get out there in our community and do the things that need to be done. Just because you once a year or twice a year go out and feed the homeless, or you go out and you do something nice, uh, that's not going to work. It has to be a day by day. You got to get your hands dirty every day, and it's not a handout, it's a hand up. And I
Yes.
think,
Hmm.
whatever we can do, we got to address this problem. And as political innovators, we're looking at these things and saying, you can't do the same thing over and over again and think you're going to get a different result. So let's get out there and look at what we've done so far, and that hasn't worked, and
Yes.
find out why it hasn't worked.
And there's good examples of where it's worked. Miami-Dade, Houston. There's good examples.
Exactly. And please like, share, and if you have answers, or you think you have answers that you might want to share with us, please share with us. You can tell me I'm dead wrong. as long as you don't call me names, leave your feelings at home. It's all about solutions by bringing facts, not feelings. And I appreciate you bringing this topic up, David. Whatever we can do to help a person, move from homelessness back into society is a great step in the right direction.
And there are resources in the community. Check with your local government here in Orange County, the city of Orlando, Orange County government. There are resources abundant. United Way, the Coalition for Homelessness. There are people there to help. So don't hesitate. We, again, are your political innovators. Appreciate it if you become a part of our community. Don't forget to check out our blog. Joel has some really good content there. And also the Informer newsletter comes out every month. Look for it. Please subscribe. You can go to our LinkedIn company page, Jay Washington, and subscribe there.
29 Days of Greatness. John Lewis was our last topic. And look, I'm having a good time writing it. I want to hear your feedback. As a matter of fact, President's Day is coming up. Huge announcement coming out on our website. Get ready to go to j-washington.com on the 19th of February and download a copy of a special book that is coming out. And I'm not going to spoil it. Other than that, I've said right now. So thank you. Please make sure you're getting your information from the Informer. Subscribe, and please, you can't make this shit up.
You can't. We're out.